The UES Hyperion drifted through the Cassini expanse, its hull deliberately weathered and scored to complete the illusion of a simple merchant vessel. Captain Maya Patel stood at the bridge's primary interface, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching Zenithian cruiser. The massive bioship resembled a living creature more than a vessel, its iridescent hull pulsing with organic light patterns. "Status of the camouflage systems?" Maya asked, her voice steady despite the tension crackling through the bridge. Dr. Sarah Chen, their chief biotechnology officer, consulted her neural interface. "Organic signature masking at full efficiency, Captain. As far as their scanners can tell, we're running on standard fusion drives and basic life support. Our synthetic-organic hybrid systems are completely masked." The Hyperion represented humanity's greatest technological achievement, a perfect fusion of organic and artificial systems that evolved and adapted in real time. But to the approaching Zenithians, they would appear as nothing more than another primitive species struggling to reach the stars. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant James Rodriguez announced from his communications station. "They're using standard first contact protocols." Maya smoothed her deliberately outdated uniform. On screen, the being that appeared before them was breathtaking in its organic perfection. The Zenithian commander's crystalline body structure caught and reflected light in impossible patterns, while tendrils of bioluminescent tissue formed constantly shifting patterns across its surface. When it spoke, its voice resonated with harmonics that seemed to bypass their ears entirely. "Unidentified vessel," the commander's translator processed. "You have entered space claimed by the Zenithian ascendancy. Your primitive organic form is noted. State your purpose." Maya adopted an appropriately anxious expression. "This is Captain Patel of the Earth merchant vessel Hyperion. We're conducting routine trade routes through neutral space. We weren't aware this region had been claimed." The Zenithians' surface patterns shifted to what intelligence suggested was amusement. "Earth, yes. The species that still relies on mechanical augmentation rather than true biological advancement. Your presence here is quaint." Behind Maya, her crew maintained perfect composure. They had trained for months for this encounter, each reaction calibrated to reinforce the Zenithians' assumptions about human technological capabilities. "We apologize for any territorial violation," Maya replied, allowing a slight tremor in her voice. "We'll withdraw to our designated trade routes immediately." Perhaps a demonstration first. The Zenithian commander's patterns pulsed with what they had learned to recognize as superiority. "Your species should understand the true potential of organic evolution." The bioship's weapon systems powered up, releasing a stream of targeted biochemical energy. To their sensors, it would appear devastating to a primitive vessel. In reality, the Hyperion's hybrid systems barely registered the impact, though they made sure to project the appropriate signs of damage. "Please," Maya called out, gripping her console for effect. "Our hull integrity can't withstand another hit like that. Consider this education in the proper order of things." The Zenithian commander resonated. "The galaxy belongs to those who have mastered true biological perfection. Return to your simple trade routes, humans, and remember your place in the evolutionary hierarchy." As the Hyperion limped away at sublight speed, Maya's crew maintained their performance until they were well beyond sensor range. Only then did she allow herself a small smile. "Send the full sensor data to Fleet Command," she ordered. The Zenithians performed exactly as predicted. Arrogant, dismissive, and completely convinced of their biological superiority. Dr. Chen nodded as she compiled the readings. They didn't even bother conducting a deep scan after their demonstration. Their own evolutionary pride blinds them to the possibility that we might have advanced in ways they never considered. Maya watched the bioship disappear into the distance. The Zenithians thought they'd encountered a primitive species barely worth their notice. They had no idea they'd just met humanity's most advanced vessel, or that their every reaction had been carefully cataloged and analyzed. Their assumption that true advancement can only come through purely organic means will be their downfall, Maya said quietly. By the time they realize that humanity has found a way to merge the best of both organic and synthetic evolution, it will be far too late. The Hyperion's hybrid core pulsed with barely restrained power as they headed back to Earth. The first phase of humanity's long-term strategy was complete. The Zenithians would report back about the primitive humans, never suspecting that their biological supremacy was about to be challenged by a species that had transcended the false dichotomy between organic and artificial evolution. Phase 2 would begin soon enough, and when it did, the galaxy would learn that humanity's true power lay not in choosing between organic and synthetic advancement, but in finding a way to make them one and the same. 3 months after their first encounter, the UES Hyperion washed from the shadows of the Helios Nebula as another Zenithian bioship cluster emerged from their organic slip space. Captain Maya Patel's hands tightened almost imperceptibly on her command interface as she tracked their movement patterns. "That's the third fleet. They've moved into the sector this week," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his neural feeds processing the sensor data in real time. "They're establishing bioform outposts on every viable world they encounter." Dr. Chen's interface tendrils pulsed with subtle light as she analyzed the Zenithian deployment patterns. "Their expansion rate has increased by 300% since our first contact. They're growing bolder, Captain." Maya nodded, watching the massive bioships extend their living anchors into another pristine world. The Zenithians weren't just claiming territory. They were transforming it, reshaping entire planets to match their vision of organic perfection. "Status of our observation drones?" she asked. "Still undetected," Chen replied. "The organic camouflage is holding. As far as they can tell, they're just another species of space-borne microorganism." The Hyperion had spent months seeding human space with these hybrid observation platforms, synthetic cores wrapped in living tissue, evolving and adapting to avoid detection. Each one fed a constant stream of intelligence back to Fleet Command, revealing the true extent of Zenithian capabilities. "New transmission intercepted," Rodriguez announced suddenly. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. They want everyone to hear this." The message played through the bridge's neural network, the Zenithian harmonics carrying their usual tone of biological supremacy. "To all species within the Orion Arm. The Zenithian ascendancy hereby claims this sector as part of our evolutionary mandate. Resist and face biological obsolescence. Submit, and we may deem you worthy of genetic uplift." "They're not even trying to be subtle anymore," Maya observed, her calm voice masking growing concern. "What's the status of the colony on New Eden?" "Final evacuations are complete," Chen reported. "The surface appears abandoned, just as planned. The Zenithians will find exactly what we want them to see: a primitive human settlement, recently deserted in fear of their approach. What they wouldn't find was the vast network of hybrid technology hidden beneath the surface. Each human colony in the expansion zone had been similarly prepared, appearing primitive and vulnerable, while concealing humanity's true capabilities." The bridge crew watched in silence as a Zenithian survey team descended to New Eden's surface. Their bioships extended sensory tendrils, prodding the abandoned settlement with casual disregard for any remaining human presence. "They're accessing our damaged computer cores," Rodriguez reported with a slight smile, "finding exactly the level of technology they expect from us." "And the bait?" Maya asked. Chen's interface pulsed with satisfaction. "They've discovered the failed genetic engineering lab. Just as we predicted, they're completely focused on our apparent crude attempts at biological advancement. Their scans aren't even touching the quantum substrate where our hybrid systems are hidden." The Zenithian survey team's report echoed through their intercepted channels. Another primitive attempt by humans to force evolution through mechanical means. Their genetic science is infantile, barely beyond basic DNA manipulation. No signs of true biological understanding. Maya allowed herself a small nod of satisfaction. The Zenithians' own pride continued to blind them to humanity's true nature. They couldn't conceive of a species advancing along a different evolutionary path than their own. They're preparing to seed the planet with their bioforms, Rodriguez reported. Standard pattern. They'll strip away what they consider inferior life and replace it with their own engineered ecosystem. Let them, Maya replied softly. Every world they transform gives us more data on their biological technology. Our hybrid systems are already learning, adapting, finding ways to interface with their organic networks without detection. The Hyperion's own hybrid core pulsed in response, its synthetic organic matrices incorporating each new piece of intelligence into its evolving architecture. This was humanity's true strength, not the rigid biological determinism of the Zenithians, but the ability to adapt, to merge, to transcend the boundaries between organic and artificial. A priority alert flashed through the neural network. Chen's expression tightened as she processed the data. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up something new. The Zenithians are assembling a massive fleet at the edge of the sector. This isn't just an expansion force. It's an invasion fleet. Maya studied the tactical projections. The Zenithians were finally showing their true intentions. Soon, they would launch their attempt to forcibly uplift humanity, never suspecting that their every move had been anticipated and prepared for. Send word to Fleet Command, she ordered. Tell them Phase 2 is approaching faster than expected. The Zenithians are about to discover that humanity's apparent weakness has been our greatest deception, and their greatest mistake. As the Hyperion slipped away through the nebulous shadows, its hybrid systems continued to evolve and adapt. The silent storm of invasion was gathering, but humanity was far from the helpless prey the Zenithians imagined. Soon, very soon, the true nature of human advancement would be revealed, and the galaxy would never be the same. The attack on New Eden began at dawn. Captain Maya Patel watched from the Hyperion's bridge as the Zenithian invasion fleet descended upon the seemingly defenseless colony world. Hundreds of bioships filled the sky, their living hulls pulsing with anticipation of an easy victory. They're broadcasting their ultimatum, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with controlled tension, demanding immediate surrender and submission to genetic uplift. Maya exchanged glances with Dr. Chen, whose interface tendrils were glowing with barely suppressed energy. Months of preparation, of careful deception, had led to this moment. The Zenithians had taken the bait exactly as planned. How many civilians still on the surface? Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. None. Captain, Chen confirmed. What they're seeing are holograms and automated systems. Every colonist was evacuated through the quantum tunnels weeks ago. The entire surface is now one giant hybrid tech installation. The Zenithian commander's transmission cut through their communications, its harmonics resonating with supreme confidence. Humans of New Eden, your primitive attempts at colonization end today. Prepare for liberation through biological ascension. Maya straightened in her command chair. I think it's time we showed them our own version of evolution. Disengage all camouflage systems. Power up the hybrid core. The change was immediate and dramatic. The Hyperion's seemingly mundane hull began to shift and flow as layers of synthetic organic technology awakened. Quantum-engineered biological circuits merged with artificial intelligence matrices, creating something entirely new, neither purely organic nor purely synthetic, but a perfect synthesis of both. They're detecting our transformation, Rodriguez reported, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. Their sensor patterns show confusion, disbelief. Open a channel, Maya ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly this time. The Zenithian commander's image appeared, its crystalline surface patterns displaying clear agitation. What deception is this? Your ship, it's impossible. No deception, Commander, Maya replied calmly. Simply a different path of evolution. While you focused solely on biological advancement, humanity chose to transcend the divide between organic and synthetic life. As she spoke, New Eden itself began to transform. The seemingly primitive colony shimmed and dissolved, revealing vast arrays of hybrid technology. Buildings flowed like living things, merging with advanced AI systems. The entire planet's surface became a demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. Your genetic engineering, your failed experiments. The Zenithians' harmonics fluctuated with growing alarm. Were exactly what we wanted you to see, Chen interjected, her interface tendrils pulsing with pride. Every failed experiment, every primitive attempt at advancement, was carefully crafted to reinforce your prejudices. You were so convinced of your biological superiority that you never considered we might have found a different way forward. The Hyperion's hybrid systems were now fully awake, its capabilities no longer hidden. The ship had become a living demonstration of humanity's achievement. Biological tissue seamlessly integrated with quantum computing, organic growth directed by artificial intelligence, synthetic systems that could evolve and adapt in real time. Impossible. The Zenithian commander's patterns had become chaotic. No species can successfully merge organic and synthetic systems at this level. The biological rejection alone would be insurmountable. Maya agreed, if we approached it from your direction. But humanity didn't try to force synthetic components into organic systems. We developed them together, letting each enhance the other naturally. Every cell in this ship contains both organic DNA and quantum processors. Every synthetic system is grown rather than built. The Zenithian fleet had begun to pull back, their sensors overwhelmed by readings they couldn't comprehend. But it was too late. Throughout human space, other colonies were dropping their camouflage, revealing similar hybrid installations. The entire defensive network that the Zenithians had dismissed as primitive was transforming, demonstrating capabilities far beyond anything they had imagined. You have a choice, Commander, Maya continued. You can retreat and report what you've seen to your ascendancy. Tell them that humanity isn't interested in their version of biological supremacy. We found our own path, one that doesn't reject technology or treat it as inferior to organic life, but embraces the potential of both. The Hyperion's hybrid core pulsed with power, its organic components growing and adapting even as its synthetic systems calculated and planned. Around them, New Eden had become a showcase of humanity's true nature, not primitive colonists waiting for uplift, but pioneers of an entirely new form of evolution. This is your only warning. Maya's voice was firm but not threatening. Humanity has no desire for conflict, but we will not submit to your biological determinism. We are neither the primitives you imagined, nor the purely organic beings you value. We are something new. As the Zenithian fleet hastily retreated from New Eden's orbit, Maya turned to her crew. Send word to Fleet Command. The deception phase is over. Now we wait to see how the Ascendancy responds to discovering they're not the only ones who can evolve. The Hyperion's hybrid systems hummed with potential as they watched the bioships flee. Humanity had finally revealed its true nature, and the galaxy would never be the same. The real test would come soon enough, when the Zenithians decided how to handle a species that had transcended their fundamental assumptions about life itself. The Zenithian response came 3 weeks later, not with diplomats, but with the largest biofleet ever assembled in known space. Captain Maya Patel stood on the Hyperion's bridge, watching through the hybrid sensors as thousands of bioships emerged from their organic slip space at the edge of the Sol system. They've called in forces from every corner of their territory. Rodriguez reported, his neural interface processing the massive influx of data. Over 2,000 capital ships, each one carrying enough biological weapons to transform an entire planet. Dr. Chen's interface tendrils flickered rapidly as she analyzed the incoming threat. Their bioships have evolved. They've adapted their hulls specifically to counter what they observed at New Eden. As expected, Maya nodded. They're still thinking like purely organic beings, responding to a threat by forcing accelerated evolution of their existing systems. The massive form of high evolutionary xanthos filled their communication screen, its crystalline body structure now enhanced with aggressive biological modifications. Humanity, its harmonics vibrated with cold fury. Your aberrant fusion of organic and synthetic life ends today. The natural order will be restored. Maya met the Zenithian leader's gaze steadily. You still don't understand what you're facing, do you? Everything you saw at New Eden was just the beginning of what we can do. We understand perfectly. Xanthos resonated. You have created an abomination, a violation of the pure path of biological advancement. Our fleet carries a new strain of evolutionary accelerant. Your hybrid systems will be purged, and your species will be properly uplifted along correct biological lines. As if to demonstrate, the nearest bioships released clouds of iridescent spores into space, engineered organisms designed to separate synthetic components from organic tissue, forcibly purifying any hybrid technology they encountered. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Dr. Chen, show them how real evolution works. Chen's fingers danced across her interface as the Hyperion's hybrid systems engage. The ship's hull began to shift and flow, but this time it wasn't just changing. It was adapting in real time to the Zenithian attack. The spores that touched the hull found themselves absorbed and reprogrammed, their own biological programming turned into fuel for the hybrid systems. Impossible. Xanthos's surface pattern swirled with agitation. No system can adapt that quickly. That's where you're wrong, Chen explained, her voice carrying genuine pity. You think of adaptation as a purely biological process, taking place over generations. Our hybrid systems don't just evolve, they learn. Every attack you launch teaches them something new. Throughout the Sol system, humanity's defensive network was demonstrating the same capabilities. Hybrid installations absorbed and repurposed the Zenithian biological weapons, growing stronger with each attempted attack. The very weapons meant to purge synthetic components were being transformed into catalysts for further hybrid evolution. You have no concept of what true evolution means, Maya continued. It's not about maintaining purity or following a predetermined path. It's about adaptation, about finding new ways to survive and thrive. Humanity didn't corrupt nature by merging with synthetic systems. We expanded the very definition of what life can be. The Zenithian fleet launched wave after wave of attacks, each one more sophisticated than the last. Bioweapons, engineered viruses, quantum-disrupting organisms, all of them designed to force separation between organic and synthetic components. But with each attack, the hybrid systems grew stronger, incorporating the new information into their ever-evolving matrix. All ships, full assault. Xanthos commanded, its harmonics shifting to previously unheard frequencies. Cleanse this system of this evolutionary dead end. The space around Earth erupted in battle as thousands of bioships engaged with humanity's hybrid fleet. But this wasn't the one-sided battle the Zenithians had expected. Each human vessel was evolving in real time, their hybrid systems learning and adapting faster than the purely organic bioships could respond. They still don't see it, Chen observed, watching the tactical displays. Every attack they launch, every new biological weapon they deploy, they're just giving us more tools to work with. Maya nodded, directing the Hyperion through the chaos of battle. The ship's hybrid core pulsed with newfound knowledge as it incorporated aspects of Zenithian biology into its own systems. Their greatest weakness is their certainty. They're so convinced that their path of evolution is the only valid one that they can't comprehend an alternative. The battle reached its crescendo as the Zenithian fleet launched its final weapon, a massive biological construct designed to emit waves of pure evolutionary energy, forcibly reverting any life form to its natural state. The massive organism emerged from the flagship's living hull, its purpose clear: to end humanity's hybrid experiment once and for all. Now, Maya ordered quietly, show them what we've been holding back. The Hyperion's hybrid systems, which had been seemingly on the defensive, suddenly shifted into a configuration that the Zenithians had never seen before. Every lesson learned from their attacks, every piece of biological and synthetic data gathered throughout the battle, came together in a perfect synthesis of both technologies. The resulting transformation would forever change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible when organic and synthetic evolution worked as one. The Hyperion's transformation sent ripples through space-time itself. Its hybrid systems had evolved into something unprecedented, a perfect fusion of organic and synthetic life that could adapt and change faster than thought itself. Captain Maya Patel felt the change through her neural interface, the ship's consciousness brushing against her own like a gentle tide. What are you? High evolutionary Xanthos's harmonics trembled with something approaching awe as the Hyperion's new form stabilized. We are what comes next, Maya replied softly. Not organic or synthetic, not natural or artificial, but something entirely new. Every attack you launched taught us more about your biological mastery. Every weapon you deployed showed us new ways to adapt. The Hyperion now pulsed with a light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, its hull a shifting matrix of living metal and quantum-enhanced tissue. Dr. Chen's interface tendrils synchronized with the ship's new systems, her expression one of wonder. The hybrid core has achieved full synthesis, she reported. It's not just adapting anymore, it's creating entirely new forms of matter. The barrier between organic and synthetic evolution has completely dissolved. Throughout the Sol system, humanity's defensive network was undergoing similar transformations. Each hybrid installation and vessel had been learning, evolving, preparing for this moment. The Zenithian fleet's massive biological weapon hung frozen in space, its evolutionary energy absorbed and transformed by humanity's hybrid technology. You believe we are an aberration, Maya addressed Xanthos, her voice carrying no anger, only understanding. But look around you. Life itself has always been about adaptation, about finding new ways to survive and thrive. We didn't corrupt evolution, we expanded its possibilities. The Hyperion sensors detected rapid changes in the Zenithian bioships. Their rigid biological programming was beginning to break down in the face of something their entire civilization had believed impossible. Some of their living hulls were already starting to resonate with the hybrid frequencies, unconsciously trying to adapt to this new paradigm. Your own ships are starting to understand, Chen observed. They're reaching for something beyond pure biological evolution. Even now, they want to adapt, to grow, to become more than what they were designed to be. Xanthos' crystalline surface displayed patterns never before seen in Zenithian history. Uncertainty, wonder, and perhaps a glimmer of recognition. This cannot be. Our path of evolution is pure, perfect. There is no perfect path, Maya interrupted gently. There is only change, adaptation, and growth. Look at your own fleet. Your bioships achieved incredible things by focusing purely on organic evolution. Imagine what they could become if allowed to explore all possibilities. As if in response, several Zenithian vessels began to exhibit unexpected changes. Their living hulls started incorporating elements of synthetic patterns, not through force, but through natural adaptation. The rigid biological programming that had defined them for so long was giving way to something new. The choice before you isn't between purity and corruption, Maya continued. It's between stagnation and growth. Humanity didn't reject biological evolution. We embraced it alongside every other form of advancement we could discover. Our hybrid technology doesn't suppress natural development. It opens new paths for it. The Hyperion's transformed systems reached out, not to attack, but to share. Through quantum-enhanced biological channels, it began transmitting data about how organic and synthetic systems could work together, how each could strengthen the other without diminishing either. Your evolutionary accelerant, Chen explained, her interface tendrils pulsing with excited energy. It wasn't a failure. Look at how it's interacting with our hybrid systems now. It's not trying to separate organic from synthetic anymore. It's learning how to merge them in new ways. Throughout the Zenithian fleet, more and more bioships were beginning to change, not through force or human intervention, but through their own natural drive to adapt and evolve. The rigid barriers of their biological programming were dissolving in the face of new possibilities. Xanthos remained silent for a long moment, its surface patterns shifting through complex emotions. When it finally spoke, its harmonics carried a different tone. Not the superiority of before, but something approaching humility. Perhaps it resonated slowly. We have been limited by our own certainty. Our pursuit of pure biological perfection blinded us to other paths of evolution. Maya nodded. That's why we maintained our deception for so long. We needed you to see, on your own terms, that there are more ways to advance than anyone had imagined. The galaxy doesn't need a single path of evolution. It needs all of them. The massive biological weapon, still suspended in space, began to dissolve. But instead of dissipating, it transformed, its pure evolutionary energy merging with the hybrid systems around it. In its place formed something new, a symbol of what was possible when different paths of advancement worked in harmony rather than opposition. Stand down all weapons, Xanthos commanded its fleet. The humans haven't corrupted evolution. They've shown us its next step. As the Zenithian fleet withdrew, not in defeat, but in thoughtful retreat, Maya turned to her crew. The Hyperion's hybrid systems pulsed with newfound potential, but now that potential was tempered with understanding. They had proven humanity's capabilities, but more importantly, they had shown that evolution itself was greater than any single path or pattern. Send word to Fleet Command, she ordered quietly. Tell them that the true revolution wasn't in our technology or our deception. It was in showing that the future belongs not to those who insist on one way forward, but to those who are willing to explore them all. The Hyperion's hybrid core hummed with peaceful energy as they watched the Zenithian fleet depart. They had changed the galaxy today, not through force of arms, but by demonstrating a fundamental truth. That life, in all its forms, thrived best when it was free to find its own path forward.